type of song that you can.
Hi and welcome back to Sunday Sermon with Ola, with me, Ola. I'm Ola. Um, Doing a solo podcast is something I didn't know I needed, but here we are. Um, I'm happy. I'm happy. I don't know if you care about that, but I am happy. I had a birthday this week. I turned 33, so show me love. So yeah, that's been my main source of celebration this week. But in general, it's been a fairly decent week. It's been okay. Um, Again, I love the feedback. Love the way you guys get in touch about the podcast. I love the sharing. I love the involvement. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you. Um, Thank you to everybody who joined the Instagram live last week as well to get in touch or to get into the discussion about manhood and being tough. Tina, as always, God bless you. Thank you for always being a part, whether you like it or not. And thank you to those of you who haven't necessarily even said anything yet, but you're silently enjoying the podcast. I appreciate you too. I know I want you to be vocal and so on, but the most important thing is that you're enjoying the podcast. Now, let's get into today's discussion. So today's discussion is going to be around whether we truly want what's best for other people. It's to do with altruism, but it's also to do with our ideologies. It's to do with self-interest versus group interest. The reason why I've come to have this conversation is for a few reasons. One is I always shout them out because I love them and I love what they do. But I was on the Instagram live session run by Flights and Feelings. Now, Flights and Feelings is a travel and lifestyle brand, and so they were having a very interesting discussion around sustainable travel. And the question was, are you really a sustainable traveler? Do you care about it? And I'll lay mine up front. I was like, let me be honest. If I've paid my money, if I've saved up as I'm going on holiday, the last thing I want to be thinking about is the environment. I want to enjoy. I was not here, burning coal for no reason and, intentionally stabbing the ozone layer. I just want to go on holiday. So, but it does beg the question then, like, how do you marry up, caring for the environment and how other people are going to experience it because you want to enjoy it. The other reason why is because, and I'm very happy about this. This week I've got a speaking engagement coming up with the Romney Street Group. Now, the Romney Street Group was set up by some high-level civil servants a long time ago, and they get together to have conversations and to have speakers, and I'm honored to be invited. And so the topic that, if you listen to the Ghetto episode and so on, you'll know why. But the topic I wanted to discuss with them is the narrative of the emerging Black British middle class. That's the topic I'm speaking on. And the reason why I gave them this topic is because I think it's interesting to start to build and frame the narrative, the culture, and capture the zeitgeist of the aspirational Black people who are moving forward and moving out of the initial environments and circumstances that they were set in. Okay. So one of the, I guess one of the safe conclusions in this discussion is that, well, it's great for social mobility. But what this week, in terms of doing research for this talk I'm giving, one of the things that it's really brought to the forefront is this idea of if social mobility is actually a good thing. It's very easy to just say, yeah, because of social mobility, and just assume that, yeah, everybody agrees with social mobility. But not everybody does. And here's why. Social mobility is only ever spoken about on the upward trend. It's when you're moving up. You know, your parents were working class. You went to university. You played the game well. You moved up to middle class, right? But social mobility also requires some people to move down. Social mobility requires somebody whose parents did well to now somehow end up in the working class. Because the problem is, if everybody became middle class, it wouldn't be a middle class anymore. A middle class is highly defined by the fact that there is an upper class and there is a working class. That's how they end up in the middle. So if I talk about, being black middle class, or moving up in terms of social status, getting education, getting on the property ladder, building generational wealth, I'm also saying I want, you know, if let's say black people start moving up, well then white people who may have had that opportunity may have to move down. People whose family has been in this country for generations. And so, you start getting to conversations about general social prosperity and basically moving the quality of life up for everybody. But let's be honest, how many people are really for this? Because what that looks like in real life is more taxes for those who are working hard. That's the reason why capitalism thrives. We all know why, and that's the reason why people vote for conservative fiscal policies. Is because if you go and sit down, get the degree, play the game, put in the hours, do the work, and then they take more from you so that somebody else can have a better life, you start to resent it. It's very easy to clap for the NHS, but how many people want their taxes to go up? So that's one of the reasons why I had it. Now, I want to bring in a very interesting discussion that we had at a Sunday service before. And it was one of the ones, we had a residency at the hospital club. And I think it was at the hospital club we had this discussion. And it was surrounding, when you're in an activist group, or you're in you're fighting for change. To what extent do you sacrifice your personal desire for the sake of the ideology or the group that you're trying to belong to? So, for example, if you're a woman and um, you know you are a feminist, and there's a particular company that you work for that has a bad reputation because they did something to women, but you've been okay. Now, this job is paying you well. It's your dream job. You're doing well. If general feminist circles start calling for a boycott of that company, are you quitting your job? And as you can see, like, that conversation has a lot to do with the sustainable travel one, and the conversation that I was speaking in terms of social mobility. There is a certain amount to which we have to draw the line as to where we're willing to sacrifice for some greater good. And I think, and this is something I always struggle with, and it's the reason why there are groups and um, organizations that I think I agree with aspects of their ideology, but find it hard to identify with, because I think in practice most ideologies aren't as pure as they say they are. They're actually self-interest groups. Here's why I say so. I think there's only a certain amount to which somebody who is a Black Lives Matter activist actually wants to see black people do well. I think what they actually want is to see themselves do well. And because they belong to the group of black people, for example, they feel the need to fight for everybody as a ruse for saying, well, I actually want my life to be better. Now, I'm not saying people don't have good intentions. I'm not saying that. People do have good intentions. But I, I struggle to see how the presented selflessness really matches up with reality. And I'll go deeper in. If, let's say, on average, the police kills 1% of the average population. But when it comes to black people, they kill 5% of the people that they, arrest. If they brought that number down to 1% and your family member was in that 1%, would you be happy that at least it's just 1%? So, or would you be more concerned at the fact that they killed your family member? I think the latter. I think the latter, right? You'd be more concerned at the fact that a family member of yours has been killed by the police. If they were saying racist things while they did it, the racism would still bother you, right? Even if they also now said something, racially insensitive, because I'm not sure about racist, but racially insensitive to a white person whilst they were doing it, it's not so much about wanting equality. It's about wanting to increase the quality of life that you live. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if you find out that they're doing something similar to white people, it doesn't make it better. Only if you have a truly spiteful heart. It's only really the real schadenfreude that would make you enjoy somebody else is also getting the pain. So it's not about making sure we're on an equal playing field. It's about removing the things we don't like. Here's the reason why I also say this, and look, I know, I'm always it's always contentious with some of my thoughts, and that's the reason why I just have the podcast to say them out loud and get it off my chest. But I think the reason why a lot of the times when you'll find this discussion between somebody who says I'm not a feminist, and then the feminist says, well, do you think women should be equal? And the guys or the girl even sometimes says, yeah, I do. And then you're feminist, and they're like, no, I don't see it that way. What they're actually saying, I believe, is I don't think that's what you guys are really about. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think you want equality. I think you want your life to be better. Because if it was about equality, you would ask for equal representation in the boardroom and the battlefield, like I said last week. But you don't ask for that. You ask for more access to where power and money is. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying let's be honest here. You want more CEO positions. You want more steady, well-paying jobs. You want access to more wealth, more capital. That makes sense. You don't actually want to be equal. Right? So if we start to really work through this, there are times where like I'll get into a discussion with a sister and she'd be like, well, men get to do that. I'd be like, no, men don't. Like, literally, your version of what you think a man is not real. Like, there are definitely some privileges to being a man, but this one you just mentioned isn't a real one. You just want to be able to do it. So they'd be like, oh, no one tells men what to wear. Yeah, literally do all the time. Come into the workplace wearing something that they don't think is okay for a man to wear, and someone will say something. Whereas women actually have a lot more latitude as to what to wear in an office. I've seen it's a really hot day today. I've seen hot days in the office where men still feel like they need to come in with a blazer so they can be seen as smart. And I've seen women walk in the most flowy summer dress. And they can still switch it to a skirt suit or, a blouse and skirt or whatever they feel like. And so if a woman now says to me, oh, no one ever tells men what to wear, I'm like, well, they do. But you don't want to be told what to wear right now. So you're making a false equivalence to try and make this point about equality. But really it's about what you actually want. And that's fine. You don't want anyone to tell you what to wear. But let's not pretend that it was about an equality issue. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see the difference? I think most of us like the sound of equality in general terms. But when we start to think about it, I'm not sure we do. Because that leads me back to social mobility. If you found out that you went to university, you did the most, you got your first class and blah, 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 you made all the sacrifices, and the person next door to you did not, but you made the same money, can you honestly say you would continue without resenting it for 1 second? I think that's the reason why people love to go at footballers all the time. Nobody just happy for footballers, apart from maybe football fans, strong football fans. But people often go at footballers and say, "Oh, well, they're making so much money, blah blah blah," because there's a need to compare and go, "Do you know what? I don't like the fact that I think your job looks way too simple to be making this much money." You try and make it about nurses. Nurses should be paid more, blah blah blah. But you understand that they're two very different business setups. You know why footballers make more money, but you just need someone to point at, right? You need someone to point at. And that's what celebrities and entertainers do. They take the fall for the investors. Investors are the one making the real money, right? So like when during the shutdown, during the lockdown, certain football clubs were furloughing their staff, and people were like, "The football players are on 200 grand a week. They should, give up some of their wages." Blah blah blah. That's because they're the ones you see. They're the ones on camera. But the investors are okay. They're the real money men, right? So the reason why they pay so much for entertainers and sports people, because they provide that barrier. They provide someone for most people to look at and go, well, that person's making so much money. And then you either go, well, I really believe they deserve it because I love what they do, or they don't deserve it. How do they make that much money? And so we spend all our time managing other people's money and funds. But really what it's about is I want more for myself. The first thing people do when they hear, oh, so-and-so is getting paid 200k a week. Oh, if I had 200k a week, because really it's about you. It's about you. Let's be honest. It's about self-interest. So you have to ask yourself, if we really reshuffled all the wealth in the world, some of us wouldn't be able to afford a smartphone. Some of us wouldn't have constant electricity. Some of us wouldn't have affordable car fuel all the time. If we really, really reshuffled the wealth and got rid of all of the bad things that have been done, tried to correct it somehow, someone would have to suffer. So every day we have to make that choice between who do we decide gets to suffer. Now we know white people decided at one point, I think we should be okay. I think we should make the black people suffer. And there have been times where men have said to themselves, we should be okay. I think we should let the women suffer. And there's times where women have said, do you know what? Bring me in. I'll enjoy with you, but let those other women suffer. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's tried to find a team where they can enjoy. And at the expense of someone else, which they know, but you need a way to justify it in your mind. Right? So you justify it by saying, well, they're black, so they deserve this, or they belong to a different country, that's their fault. They just have bad leadership, whatever it is. But we know it's all a zero-sum game. Resources are scarce in the world. So in order for you can't have an equal distribution of resources just because you can't equally distribute resources like talent, for example. You can't make sure that every area has the exact same talent in terms of whatever good is. You can make sure they have the same training, but that doesn't equal the same talent. You can't make every team in the Premiership be equal. Some are going to have better players than others, right? So the question I guess we need to discuss is, how much do we want others to really do well? Think about it. I think we're actually way more self-invested and self-motivated, and not like you're motivated by yourself, but like you're motivated for yourself, than we let on. And the reason why I use Black Lives Matter as an option before, as an example, is just to show that no one's exempt from this. I'm not using this as a way to point fingers outwards. I'm saying even myself. I struggle to join some of these, movements just because I know deep down, if let's say, for example, if I was truly about equality, if let's say black people rose up to the point where we had disproportionate amounts of wealth in this country, and we were doing so well, I'm not sure I would be so bothered that I would still be campaigning that no, we need equality. I'd be like, well, I guess I deserve it, like we worked hard, black people, we came up, So is it really equality that I want? No, I just want me to do better, and I want black people to do better because indirectly that also means me doing better in some form, shape, or form. And so that's some of the reason why when people push back, when I see white people who like are against it, I don't actually get upset anymore. I'm like, I get it. You're doing self-interest. When I see white people who continue with racist ways, I kind of go, do you know what? Like, if I were you, why would you let up now? If you know how you've treated black people over centuries, would you ever give them power? You'd probably assume they'd treat you the way you treated them. So you kind of have to continue. Because everybody's looking out for themselves. Now, if you are so gracious when you're in an up position, when you're in a high position to say, I want to see you also do well, so I want to give, then that makes you a good person. Well done. That's good. But let's be honest. There's no guarantee that the person that you help, if they now go above you, are going to do the same for you. There's no guarantee. I think we should be more selfless. I think our lifestyles should embrace more giving and more wanting better for others than we want for ourselves. But I just don't see our economy functioning that way. I don't see our day-to-day practice functioning that way. I don't see our behavior going that way. Are you truly altruistic? Is there anybody you truly want to see do better than you? I always keep this one in mind because I remember there was a time where Akon was on every track. Akon was winning. And then he signed T-Pain, and then T-Pain was on every track. And I didn't see Akon saying, oh, you're my label, you're my artist. I need to have all the big songs, and then you can do the B songs or whatever. No, T-Pain could shine, and I always remember thinking, like, that's a real boss move right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of have to let people shine. You kind of have to put people up so that they can get where they need to go. I feel like that's the mentality I'm coming into more and more. I feel like there's a part of me that's sort of stepping away from some of the spotlight because I want to see other people do well. But I can't say it's completely altruistic. There's still a certain amount to which I still see success in it for myself. When I was thinking about this episode, there was a lot more funny things I wanted to say, but I really got into the subject, and it's already getting to that time. I kind of need to round up. Don't worry, it was way, well, it's not of any help to you right now to know that it was funnier before. But I hope you still see the value in this discussion. And I do want to continue the discussion tonight, as in the Sunday that this comes out. At 8 p.m. on Instagram Live. I want to consider, because I want to know, is feminism really about equality, or is it about women just having a better life? Is Black Lives Matter really about equality, or is it really about just black people having a better life? And remember, again, I'm not saying it's bad to want a better life for yourself. I just don't think we should use the guise of equality to do it. I think we should just be upfront and say, look, I want my life to be better. I want access to more wealth, and I want job opportunities, and I want to have safety, and I want to not be killed by the police, and I want to, whatever it is. I think that would make things a lot clearer. And I don't know if things are supposed to be clear, but I like things clearer. All right, I really do need to wrap this up. Last week I went a bit long, and it caused its issues. So yeah, thank you guys for the discussion. Please join in Instagram Live. Share this with somebody. Tell somebody about the podcast who you think might enjoy a weekly discussion topic. Especially if you feel like the person is underserved by the current content that's out there. I try and make the content that I feel is missing and that I would like, and so I am banking or betting on the fact that someone else feels that way. I don't know them though, but you probably do. So please send them the podcast. And yeah, follow me on Instagram at olathecomedian. Join the Instagram live. DM me, if you have any thoughts about the podcast. And stay blessed.